Let me ask you something. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Would you start that business? Would you chase that dream? Would you take that leap? Most people, they let fear hold them back. They let the possibility of failure keep them from even trying. But let me tell you something. Failure is not the problem. No, the real problem is the fear of failure. Because fear does something dangerous. It paralyzes you. It stops you before you even start. It convinces you that playing it safe is better than taking a chance. But here's the truth. Every successful person you admire, they have failed many times. The difference? They didn't stop. They didn't let failure define them. They let it shape them. They used it to learn, to grow, and to push forward. So today, I want to challenge you to see failure differently. I want to show you why failure is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. Because the moment you stop fearing failure, that's the moment you start moving towards success. Let's begin. The hidden value of failure. Failure. That word alone is enough to send most people into a panic. We live in a world where success is celebrated and failure is often seen as something to avoid at all costs. We've been conditioned to believe that failure is a sign that we're doing something wrong, that we're not good enough, or that we're doomed to never succeed. But what if I told you that failure is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal? Here's the thing. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. The truth is, success is built on a foundation of failure. Without failure, there is no growth. There is no learning. There is no progress. So, why are we so afraid of it? You see, failure is often misunderstood. It's not a wall that stops you from moving forward. It's a teacher, a guide, and a step in the right direction. Every time you fail, you learn something. Every mistake you make brings you closer to your goal. The key is to embrace failure, not run from it. People avoid failure because it's uncomfortable. They worry about what others will think, or they fear that failing will make them seem weak, incapable, or unworthy. But here's the truth. Failing doesn't define you. How you respond to failure is what truly matters. Will you let it defeat you, or will you let it motivate you to work harder, smarter, and more persistently? Think about it. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by avoiding failure. They got there by learning from their failures, by adjusting their approach, and by never giving up. They understood that failure isn't the end. It's simply a redirection, a course correction that pushes them closer to success. When you fail, you have two choices. You can quit, and that's where your journey ends. Or you can analyze, adapt, and keep moving forward. You see, success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about using it to your advantage. Every time you fail, you gain knowledge. Every time you fail, you get better. But here's the catch. You won't always get it right on the first try. That's okay. Failure is part of the process. What separates successful people from those who never reach their potential is their willingness to fail and then get back up. They understand that the path to success is never straight. It's full of bumps, twists, and turns, but each failure is simply another opportunity to learn and grow. You see, failure teaches you resilience. It teaches you to bounce back stronger, smarter, and more focused than before. If you never fail, you'll never develop the mental toughness that is essential for long-term success. It's through failure that you learn how to handle challenges, setbacks, and adversity. And it's this resilience that will carry you through when the road gets tough. So the next time you encounter failure, I want you to change your perspective. Don't view it as a setback. View it as a lesson, an opportunity, and a reminder that you're on the right path. When you embrace failure, you take away its power. You stop fearing it, and you start using it to fuel your progress. Failure is not something to be afraid of. It's a part of the process, and it's what separates those who achieve greatness from those who don't. So the next time you fall short, remember, it's not the end. It's simply the beginning of a new chapter, one that will lead you closer to your ultimate success. Keep moving forward, keep learning, and keep embracing the power of failure, the power of persistence. Failure, as we've seen, isn't the end. It's just a step in the journey. But here's where the real magic happens: persistence. It's the fuel that keeps you going when failure tries to stop you. It's what turns a dream into reality. Persistence is what separates those who make it from those who give up too soon. Think about this. Success is never immediate. It doesn't happen with one attempt. It doesn't even happen with 5 attempts or 10. Success requires persistence. It requires you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep moving forward, even when it seems like the world is telling you to stop. It's easy to quit when things get hard. It's tempting to throw in the towel when failure knocks you down. But persistence, stubborn determination to continue despite the obstacles, is the key to achieving greatness. Most people give up far too soon. They try something once, maybe twice, and then, when it doesn't work, they walk away. But if you look closely at any successful person, you'll see that they didn't quit after 1 failure. They didn't give up after 10. They kept going. They knew that success is built on the willingness to persist in the face of adversity. So, let's shift your perspective. When failure strikes, and it will, don't see it as a reason to quit. See it as an invitation to persist. Persistence doesn't mean blindly repeating the same mistakes. It means adjusting, learning from what went wrong, and continuing to move forward with new knowledge. Persistence means looking failure in the eye and saying, "You won't stop me." The most successful people in the world, they're not always the most talented, they're not always the smartest, but they are the ones who kept going when everyone else gave up. And that's because they understood one simple truth: success belongs to those who are willing to outlast the obstacles. Take a moment and think about your own life. What have you been tempted to quit because of failure? Maybe it was a business idea, a relationship, a project, or a personal goal. And what would have happened if you had kept going just one more time? What if you had chosen to persist instead of quitting? This is the power of persistence. It turns failure into the stepping stones of success. Every time you try again, every time you learn from what didn't work and adjust, you are one step closer to your goal. You are becoming the person who will ultimately achieve success because you didn't quit when failure knocked on your door. So the next time failure comes knocking, remember, don't run from it. Lean into it. Use it. And most importantly, persist. Because persistence is the trait that makes all the difference. It's the one thing that guarantees you'll never stay down for long, no matter how many times you fall. Shifting your mindset about failure. To fully embrace failure, you need to shift your mindset. You see, the way you view failure directly influences how you respond to it. If you see failure as a defeat, something to be feared, you will retreat. But if you see failure as a challenge, a lesson, a stepping stone, you will approach it with courage and purpose. This mindset shift is powerful. It's the difference between someone who stays stuck and someone who moves forward. Think about it. People who are successful don't think of failure as something to avoid. They think of it as an opportunity to learn. When things don't go according to plan, they don't give up. They reassess, they learn, and they come back stronger. The most successful people don't dwell on their mistakes. They don't beat themselves up over them. Instead, they ask themselves, what can I learn from this? What can I do better next time? They understand that failure is temporary, but the lessons they learn from it can last a lifetime. This shift in thinking isn't easy, but it's essential. You must be willing to reframe failure in your mind. The next time something doesn't work out, don't let the disappointment cloud your judgment. Instead, look at it from a different perspective. Ask yourself, what does this teach me? How can I use this experience to get better? When you stop viewing failure as a negative force and start seeing it as a catalyst for growth, you open yourself up to a whole new world of possibilities. You stop fearing it and you start embracing it as a part of your journey. After all, success is built on the foundation of lessons learned, and those lessons often come from failure. So let me ask you, How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid to fail? How many dreams have you put on hold because you were worried about what might go wrong? The truth is, if you don't fail, you don't grow. You don't evolve. You remain where you are. But when you shift your mindset, you unlock the true potential that failure has to offer. You begin to understand that failure is not an end. It's merely a course correction. It's a redirecting of your path, showing you the way forward. Remember, the greatest breakthroughs often come after the most significant setbacks. Some of the most successful people didn't find their path to greatness after a smooth, uninterrupted journey. They found it after they failed, got back up, and adjusted their course. That's the power of a mindset shift. It's about choosing to grow, to improve, and to push forward. Failure will no longer be something you fear. It will become a tool you use to build the life you desire. So, change your mindset, and you'll change your future. Overcoming the fear of failure. Now that we've discussed the importance of persistence and shifting your mindset, let's talk about one of the most powerful forces that hold people back from success: fear of failure. Fear is something we all face, but it's also something we have the power to control. When it comes to failure, fear can paralyze you, cause you to doubt yourself, and stop you from pursuing your goals. But fear does not have to control you. It can be managed, and when managed properly, it can even work for you. The fear of failure is often rooted in a belief that failure means you're not good enough. It makes you question your abilities, your worth, and your potential. But here's the truth: failure does not define you. It doesn't make you a failure. It simply means you've encountered a temporary setback. If you can make that distinction, the fear of failure becomes less intimidating. We all experience fear. It's a natural human emotion. It's there to protect us, to keep us safe from harm. But the problem arises when we allow that fear to hold us back from taking action. Fear of failure makes you hesitate, second guess, and sometimes ultimately quit before you even begin. And that's the real danger of fear. It can stop you from ever trying in the first place. The key to overcoming the fear of failure is action. The more you act, the more you realize that the fear you feel is often much worse than the actual failure itself. Once you take that first step, once you start to move forward, you begin to see that failure isn't as terrifying as it seemed. It's just a part of the process. If you let fear paralyze you, you're allowing it to have control over your life. But if you take action, if you push through that fear, you take back the power. Here's what happens when you push through fear: you gain confidence. Every time you act despite the fear, you prove to yourself that you're capable of handling failure. And over time, the fear will start to lose its grip on you. It will no longer control your decisions or your actions. But let me tell you something important. Fear is never entirely gone. It may always be lurking in the background, trying to convince you to turn back, but you don't have to listen to it. Fear is like a shadow. It may follow you, but it has no power unless you let it. The more you confront your fear, the weaker it becomes. So the next time fear creeps in and tries to stop you, ask yourself this: what would happen if I chose to ignore this fear and just move forward? What's the worst that can happen? The truth is, the worst thing that can happen is that you fail. But failing isn't the end of the road. It's an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to keep going. And the more you embrace failure as a learning tool, the less fear we'll have over you. Fear of failure is also tied to the fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think of us if we fail. We fear embarrassment, criticism, or the perception that we aren't good enough. But here's a truth I want you to remember. Other people's opinions don't define your worth. The only person whose opinion matters in this journey is yours. If you let the fear of judgment control you, you'll never take the risks that are necessary for success. You'll never step outside your comfort zone. I'm not saying it's easy to ignore the fear of judgment, but I am saying it's necessary. You must learn to put your own beliefs about your potential above the opinions of others. When you do, You'll find that you're no longer bound by the expectations or criticisms of others. You'll be free to pursue your goals without hesitation, knowing that you're in control of your own success. The more you push through the fear, the more you'll realize that failure isn't something to avoid, it's something to welcome. When you fail, you know you're trying. You know you're stepping outside your comfort zone and taking the risks that are necessary for growth. Failure is no longer a shameful thing. It's a sign that you're taking action. Remember this, your potential is far greater than your fear. Fear will never be completely absent, but you can choose to face it head on. You can choose to keep moving forward despite it, and when you do, you'll realize something incredible. The fear that once held you back will become the very thing that propels you forward. The more you confront it, the smaller it becomes, until one day you realize it no longer has any power over you. Embracing failure as a part of your journey. As we've discussed, failure is not something to fear, and it's not something that defines you. Instead, it's simply a part of the process, an integral part of the journey towards success. In fact, failure is a teacher, and every time you experience it, you're given the opportunity to grow and evolve. We live in a world that celebrates success, but rarely discusses the lessons learned from failure. But I'm here to tell you, failure is where the magic happens. It's where you learn the most about yourself, about your strengths, and about your weaknesses. It's where you find the grit and resilience needed to succeed in the future. If you're serious about achieving anything meaningful in life, you have to be willing to accept failure as an inevitable part of your path. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have truly achieved greatness in their fields. Their stories are filled with failure. It was the challenges, the mistakes, and the setbacks that helped shape them into the individuals they are today. They didn't let failure define them. They used it to fuel their progress. The question is, will you let failure stop you, or will you use it to propel you forward? When you understand that failure is not an obstacle, but a stepping stone, you begin to realize that you have the power to use it to your advantage. Every failure teaches you something valuable. Maybe you discover that you need to improve your skills. Maybe you find a new way to approach a problem. Or maybe you simply learn what doesn't work, so you can try something else. But no matter what, you gain something from every failure. Let me be clear, failure is not a reason to quit. It's a reason to keep going, to adjust, to try again, and to do better next time. The most successful people in the world didn't quit when things got hard. They adjusted their approach and kept moving forward. They understood that failure is a temporary condition, not a permanent one. They knew that every setback was just another opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient. You have that same ability within you. But first, you have to change the way you view failure. Instead of seeing it as something that's happening to you, see it as something that's happening for you. It's a necessary part of the process that prepares you for greater success in the future. If you embrace this mindset, you'll begin to look at failure with a sense of gratitude, rather than fear or frustration. Now, I understand that failure can sting. It can feel like a punch to the gut. But in those moments, remind yourself that it's only temporary. Every time you fail, you're getting closer to success. The road to greatness is filled with twists, turns, and bumps along the way. But with each failure, you're learning and evolving. So the next time you fail, don't be discouraged. Take a step back, analyze what went wrong, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Use that insight to fuel your next attempt. The more you embrace failure as part of your journey, the more you'll grow. And the more you grow, the closer you'll get to your goals. Remember, no one ever became great by avoiding failure. They became great by facing it head on, learning from it, and using it to sharpen their skills. When you start to see failure as a necessary part of your progress, you'll stop avoiding it and start embracing it. You'll take more risks, you'll try new things, and you'll discover parts of yourself you never knew existed. In the end, it's not about avoiding failure. It's about using it to your advantage, learning from it, and growing because of it. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail and get back up time after time. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't run from it. Lean into it. Learn from it. And let it fuel your journey to success. Because the only true failure is the failure to try. And as long as you keep trying, you'll never be far from success. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to remember this. Failure is not the end of your story. It's merely a chapter. It's a part of the process, and it's something you must embrace if you want to truly succeed. The journey to your goals will be filled with ups and downs, but it's how you respond to those challenges that will determine your future. I want you to leave here today with one powerful thought. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't let fear or past failures hold you back. Instead, see each setback as a step forward, a lesson that will guide you to greater success. You are stronger than you think, and your potential is limitless. Success is not reserved for the lucky or the perfect. It's for those who are willing to keep going when it gets tough, who are willing to learn from their mistakes and keep improving. The true measure of your success is not how many times you fall, but how many times you rise, how many times you get back up and keep pushing forward. So go out there and chase your dreams, take risks, try new things, and never, ever be afraid of failure. Because as long as you keep trying, as long as you keep learning, you are always moving closer to the person you are meant to be. Remember this, failure is just a temporary stop. Success is where you choose to keep going. Thank you for listening, and keep moving forward. You've got this.